Let's talk inflation. A cynic once said that inflation is more like toothpaste. Once it gets out of the tube, you hardly can get it can get it back again, you know. So the street slang in Nigeria is that when things go up, they hardly come down. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, Nigeria has recorded a 10 consecutive rise in inflation to a new high of 27.33% for the month of October. Further rises are predicted for the months ahead. Now, the NBS reveals that a rise in food inflation was caused by increases in prices of bread and cereals. Wale, are we not in trouble here?
I think, if you ask me,
I'm asking you.
this is the most serious problem that we face today, because the Yoruba people will say, "Eni bimpa go asu," and every man does not listen to sermons. No matter your budget, ritual, we want to invest this. An angry man is also
Wale, and also hunger, not the hear prayer.
yes. An angry man is a hungry man, and an hungry man can be a violent man. He can resort to violence in order to express his anger. You see, food is, of all the things in life, food is the most essential. Food has a lot of correlation with our the functioning of our memory, our emotions, our capacity to think, our learning processes. So the danger is that if people don't have access to food, malnutrition will set in, especially for children, infertility, death. So we need to realize that this is the most important problem that we are facing. And the reality is that prices of foodstuff is just going up as if it will never come down. And people,
a loaf of bread, 1,000 naira?
Everything is almost every week is going up. Well, for me, I think people are blaming dollar and all that, but there are some fundamental problems that we need to address. Nigerians are no longer interested in farming for so many reasons. And that is affecting food production. It's affecting the livelihood of local communities.
Yeah.
And if you look at the history of this country, there was a time, I think in 1976, because where culture is absent, a striking example is necessary. In our history, there was a time that was drought in the Sahel in 1976. And then there was oil boom. People started moving from local areas to urban areas, abandoning agriculture. The government at that time introduced Operation Feed the Nation. I was in secondary school. It was a kind of thinking out of the box, not a handout from IMF and so forth. They just said, look, let's ask secondary schools to go into farming. Every secondary school, every community, they were using helicopters for pesticides, fertilizers. Then there was Nigerian Agricultural Cooperative Bank that was giving out loans. As a student in secondary school, I had a farm. We were about 1,000. Every child had a farm.
You remind me of Mayflower School.
Yeah. At that time, secondary school started going into bakery. Some were going into pottery. And between 1976 and 1977, there was a boom in agricultural production. So we need something radical. And I also remember that when Shagari came, he launched the Green Revolution.
Yeah.
Since and then I think during the time of Idi Agbanko, they also launched something similar like Back to Farm. At that time, Rivers became the highest exporter of producer of pineapple and then exporting to other countries. So we need a radical intervention.
That's it.
People can no longer they don't farm any longer. Everybody wants either to ride Okada or to go into politics. So unless if our communities can go into farming in the next 1 year, you are going to see significant improvement in production. What is happening now is that supply is not enough and demand is higher. So we are not producing tomatoes, we are not producing onions, and then people, so you see that just 4 onions, they tell you is, I think about 1,000 naira.
No, so, have you tried tomatoes?
Tomatoes. So where are we going? These are things that were not imported from UK, not imported from Europe, things that you can just throw on the ground, and just don't even feed it, just throw it. Let's say that, just leave it there. It's going to grow on its own.
Yeah.
And we cannot produce them. So the government needs a radical intervention. And that's why when the government gave some 2 billion each to each state, I felt they should have used substantial aspects of that funds, put it into agriculture.
Yeah.
So unless our people start going back to farm, no miracle will happen unless there's a radical intervention.
Paul, are you not scandalized as we sit here that the plantain fingers are forced to ripe against natural process? I hear they pour carbide and all sorts of things to make them ripe, and this is not healthy.
It's not. So many things are not healthy, and that's what happens in a chaotic situation like ours. Now, I think that I listened to. I read what the CBN spokesperson said, and I was just like, what's this man saying? Now, actually, if you look at the report, the NBS report, say there is a year-on-year increase in our inflation rate, but month over month there is a decrease in the percentage of increase. If you compare, what I mean is that it increases at a slower rate. That is, the inflation rate is increasing at a slower rate now. I hope you understand what I'm saying. That's on monthly basis. And based on that, the CBN spokesman said, well, talk as if it's good news. You know, that maybe soon policies, or the monetary policy of the CBN in the long run will bring some stability and all of that. And there are people that disagree that this might continue. No, the point, you see, the point for me is when people sit down and speak economic jargons that have no relevance to the common man is not interested in your elevated terms, you know, and all of that. They want life.
Results.
They want results, exactly. They want life to be different for them. You know, my long deceased stepmother used to sing this word, says, that is, Lagos is tough for, can I go ahead?
Yeah, just a minute. We have an Elizabeth reaching us from Lagos. Elizabeth, good evening to you. Welcome. Okay. Thank you for the intervention.
Okay. So I was going to Eko Feniti.
Lagos is not sweet for the man without a
for the man without for the poor,
yes,
and for the jobless. But I'm saying that Lagos is not even tough for the man who has job. Because what it means when you
demands.
Exactly. The truth of the matter is when the inflation rate increases, when prices of food commodities, you know, increase, the people's purchasing power is reduced. People become poorer. I mean, it's very simple. If I bought this thing for 10 naira yesterday and it's now 12 naira and my income has not increased, it means I'm poorer.
No wonder it is said that the most critical time in matrimony is breakfast time.
It's true now.
No, crazy.
Yes, you're exactly.
So when you manage to have a meal in the AM, Wale, you are wondering how many homes can afford it.
Yeah, and on the street, you see, we can feel it. You know, you see adults, you know, able-bodied women, some with their children strapped on their back, begging for food just to eat. So, you know, when I see this kind of, I mean, it's very painful that people they can't feed. Even the birds, you know, in the sky, they are not hungry with the little brain that they have. Not to talk of the human being with all the abundance of creative energy. We cannot feed ourselves.
Wale and Paul, have you noticed that eggs are no longer big?
Yeah.
They say because we know they feed far well. Have you heard that?
So there's no justification for us not to be able to feed ourselves.
Okay.
Look at China, Singapore, you know, the land is there. It's just for us to, you can't point to a state government to say.
I remember briefly when we had the mad cow disease, if you remember, in early 2000. Now, the cure for that was cassava. And Abia State, led at the time by Oji Uzokalu, you know, exported cassava and they used it.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's possible.
Yeah. In this same country, we had,
Oh, sorry, we have an Usman reaching us from Lokoja in Kogi State. Usman, good evening to you.
Good evening.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, I would like to comment on the first topic discussed and this previous topic.
Go on.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go on.
So regards to the food inflation in Nigeria, just like your audience said, it's a problem where the leaders of each state, most especially the governors, they have the power to allow the local government system to work. Because these are the closest arms of government that has to do with agriculture. When we talk about agriculture in Nigeria, we must look at the people in the rural area. And those people in the rural area, if you look at the system in which people farming now, you cannot farm without having money. And the only way that if those people will get support from government is by government intervention. And the local government are not working. And there is no any state where local government are allowed to function.
All right.
When they share that money of intervention on fuel subsidy, this money is supposed to be given to local government directly, so that the people.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, folks. All right. At this point, we feel like making some money, so we'll go for another commercial break. Okay, then. Welcome back. We were talking about soaring food prices, and the NBS, the National Bureau of Statistics, says inflation in Nigeria has gotten to a dizzying level of 27.33%. Paul, you are building up to something.
Yeah, I think what we actually need are initiatives and innovations to boost food production. I remember during the administration of Ambode, there was this collaboration between Lagos State and Kebbi State. You had what they call lake rice, and a bag of lake rice was selling far less than what the
popular
brand was selling, and it was even purer and better. But suddenly, after Ambode left, it disappeared.
No, but I hear, Wale, have you heard it? I hear locally produced rice is here, but they have bagged the rice in Oyinbo containers, or Oyinbo bags rather. Have you heard that?
No, maybe I haven't heard that. But the truth of the matter is that even locally produced rice, we are not producing enough, and it's more expensive than the imported one now. That's the truth. So we need to boost agricultural production. I know the president said certain things about it, but let's do something very proactive. I see the man in the street is not bothered about new clothes. It's not bothered about luxuries. He just wants to eat, and that's the most basic necessity of a man. Once you eat, you can think of other things. But when it's now becoming difficult to eat, talk about breakfast the other time. There are families who can't afford breakfast. It has come to that point. So we need to take this very, very seriously. Let's boost food production.
Yeah, Wale, quickly. I know big men of God from the pulpit and the member can return people to the farm.
They can. And that's why the government needs to work with faith-based organizations, because they have a lot of influence on their members. Because we can't just be converting every available space to worship centers. We can't feed on prayers.
Yeah.
Even, the Holy Book says that faith is the substance of things not seen, the evidence of things hoped for. And you cannot just feed on faith. You have to walk and pray. It says, pray but watch. So we cannot just, people need to work. They need to go into production.
Yeah.
They need to go into improving the economy.
Let me stop you there, but not before telling you, Wale and Paul, prayer no they stop hunger.
It will never.
They stop.
You have to work hard.
Okay.